Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the path.
I am a working man, I get things done. Work for the Holy Ghost, work for the Son. I am a working man, oh yes I am. I am a special agent of the Lamb.
And you were listening to Live from the Path, coming from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper. It's delightful to be with you on this, could be the middle of the morning. You don't have any idea. You're not listening to the live cuts. And if you are from Vietnam or Bangladesh, you're burning through the back episodes.
All right.
Appreciate your butt work, friends. Okay, here's what we got going on the show.
Wait a minute. Do you think they just hold the streaming service storage in Bangladesh? Right? Like, let's say Amazon has a data center in Vietnam or something.
Yeah.
And then that's where they believe is that how they get the numbers?
I mean, I think they're a little bit more sophisticated on trying to pick out like the originating IPs on who hit like an episode or something like that.
No.
But most of it's happening in the Microsoft Edge browser. Like, that ain't America.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's old.
That's suspicious. So what I think is actually happening is what looks like 30,000 listens is you 60 to 75 here in the States are holding solid. And I appreciate that. But if you are in the Vietnam, Bangladesh area, thanks for listening to the program. I need you to know this. In the back of my mind, I thought, what if I acted like I was saying thank you for listening to the program, but in some sort of Bangladeshi language? And I need you to know that I suppressed that because it was a terrible idea.
Yeah, I agree.
I know I can't do an accent. I don't know the language. It was a mistake. And so just know I discerned, and you didn't even see it in my mind.
Filters are on.
Yes, this is correct. All right. Hey, here's what we got going on the show this evening. And it's two topics, but it might be one. I have been thinking through, I think, situations where it feels like there is a large preponderance, I don't know, of what is there's like a culture to Christianity, right? There's like a way people start to behave, and there's just like a vibe to it to steal from the youth. But the question becomes like, how would you know? Let's say you're just a good-natured person, and could you tell? How would you know the difference as to whether you are a person who enjoys and participates in a Christian-themed culture, or you are a follower of Jesus? And I'm a little bit sensitive to the fact that, like, the point isn't to go around. We're not going like I want to walk around and like point at people and like fake. Like that's actually not the point. But if you were trying to help someone self-identify, you know, like these are the types of things that where you like you might be just you like the Christian culture, because it's kind of like the things where someone might say, hey, why don't you, someone who's not a Christian but who goes, why don't you go to church and look for a husband? You'll meet a nice boy there. I like the church boys. And it's not because you actually believe and follow Jesus. You just like the promise of what like a church fella might have. He seems like a stable, responsible type of dude who's probably not dating 15 women at the same time and knows enough to dress nice, or at least has one decent set of clothes that his mom probably makes him wear on Sunday. And you're like, you know what, all told, date one of them church boys. And so it's kind of like whatever you might think about that and even participate in. That's kind of topic number one. But the topic number two, which I think ultimately might get to the same, come to the same apex, which is if you were to say the phrase when it comes to following Jesus, let's keep the main thing the main thing. Do we agree on what that main thing is? What is that? And how do you know, again, whether you're keeping it or not keeping it?
Okay, it's fair to wrap a little context around this.
Okay, have it.
Okay, so we've been thrashing back and forth on this is not going to be about your church specifically.
Yeah.
But it might be. So like take it well. But like there's some stuff been coming around like our news feed. We've been trading some stories back and forth where like a church was advertising that they were going to have some kind of big baptism Sunday, right? And they're like, okay, people do this. That's fine. But like to celebrate that, they were going to bring in a mascot from a basketball team to also celebrate the day. And also because it was like Dunk Sunday, which is why the basketball team mascot was there.
Cheesy.
There was also going to be rides and inflatables and bubbles and candy and all this stuff, right? And the thought is meeting Jesus really that life-changing? Or are we fluffing it up with like, oh, and we also have inflatables? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the main thing that someone decided to turn their whole life over to Christ, right? And then start a whole new way of walking in freedom and joy and love and patience and all the fruits of the Spirit. And we're like, it pales in comparison, but here's some inflatables. You know what I'm saying? Or we're going to have 900 people do it because that's when we schedule it. Or, hey, this basketball guy is going to come out and do some flips on a trampoline just to cement the special day. You know? And like, there's dudes in prison that came to know Jesus in their jail cell, and they will still remark it as the greatest day of their whole life, the day that God freed them from their sin. And like, that's all they would ever want. And their life changed from there on out. And we we're giving out shirts, and you know what I'm saying? Like, we're creating, and like, I'm not saying that it's not a party of sorts to be happening, I guess, but like, it all seems so disingenuous to me. Do you know what I'm saying? Or like, what was another example that I saw? There was no, I don't have it right now. But like, I think it's mostly the conversation is centering around like, one is the main, can we all agree what the main thing is, right? Like, I think most churches' approach is the Great Commission. That's the main thing, to go out and make disciples, right? That's what Jesus left us with, and that's what we hold on to and go, okay, we're going to do greater things than this, and then we're going to go out and make disciples as we go. And if like making disciples is the main thing, I don't think it's unfair to look at like our communities and our church communities and our programs and our celebrations and stuff and go, is this actually doing it? Like, is it contributing to it? Are we 7 steps away from it and going, well, we'll hang out at the fringes and hope it maybe gets us to actually discipling somebody or actually introducing somebody to Jesus, right? Because we do this with youth all the time. Like, if we make something really fun, let's do Tuesday night battle ball or Wednesday night basketball, and eventually we will ask them to church. And eventually, hopefully, they won't think that's too boring because we'll put them through youth class first, where that guy's a little bit loose with the rules and is willing to like buy pizza all the time. And then maybe by the time they're 27, they might end up at church because they're like, I have a family now. I got to figure out how to be a man. And that's our discipleship plan. It's like a 20-year wait out where like when people are young and frankly unattached, man, these people can get a lot of work done for the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? They're a little bit more pliable and ready for action and all the stuff. And so like, I don't know, it's just been circling my mind lately of like the amount of church programs that we have and like all the ministries that we do and like, is it doing the main thing? Right? Is it actually pointing people to Jesus as much as, even from our last week's conversation, meeting a dude for coffee? You know what I'm saying? And just like hashing out life in the gospel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, I think these will intersect, but let's start on the first one. Is that like, if you were to think about what might it look like, or what kind of behaviors or attitudes or something might exist for someone who is participating in a Christian culture where it may be distinct from a faithful following of Jesus in whatever, in all its frailties and fallibilities. Like, no one's claiming a perfection here. I'm just, yeah. What kind of things might you look for? And so maybe I'll start us off with some things that I actually, that you wouldn't know the difference on. Whether you attend church every Sunday is not an indicator of whether you are involved in a culture or whether you're a faithful follower of Jesus, because like that's part of participating in the culture, right? If you were just gonna be like, look, I like being around these people. I think they're a good influence on me. They make me happy. The music's okay. Like whatever the things are, like you could totally just keep showing up. And I think I used to think that like, why would someone come here if they don't actually believe this? I'm like, I don't know. Because it's a fun. Like there's a live band and there's nice people and there's donuts and like.
And it comes with a loving community, right?
Yeah.
Like, so like what meal trains, we're classic for this, right? That can be totally church culture. And like, you could be part of a meal train of helping someone else, like making meals or whatever. And like, you could be or not could be following Jesus, right? You're just like, this is a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
Because the culture around you is like, hey, we're doing this, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know, like what else, anything else, what jumps out at you where you might like.
Are you talking about like on a personal level?
Yeah. Personal level.
Ooh, I don't know that I thought about this much. Like how can I identify a Christ follower? Like in general.
Yeah.
Opposed to just like.
Yeah. I mean, like just the fruits of the Spirit come to my mind, like love, patience, love. I just went blank on it. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control. Those things are just part of their lifestyle. It's not a fake or a forced thing. It's not I need to make sure I do something loving today, but you actually are a loving person.
Yeah.
I think it's things like that you go, okay, that's different than a lot of people. The general population doesn't exude some of those characteristics.
Yeah.
I find people that are willing to talk about their sin are generally followers of Jesus and not just participating in a church culture.
You know what I'm saying? There's like a humility in it?
Yeah, because they don't care. You know what I'm saying? They're like, here's what God saved me from.
Yeah.
This is who I was. This is who I am. These are the things I struggled with. These are the things God gave me freedom in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like genuine followers of Christ look at their own sin and go, ain't bigger than the grace I got. Dig what I did.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're not trying to hide it. You're not.
Yeah, because it's to His glory. It was rectified.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, of course I'm a failure at times.
Yep.
I don't know. This is harder than I thought it would be, honestly.
Well, yeah, because like if you think about, and actually I'm guessing. Some of this I'm like guessing or trying to think into. Is it possible that a lot of when you see failures on folks who do ministry or work in churches, is it because like it's just a lifestyle? Where was I? I was somewhere. I was interacting with somebody. Oh, I think I told you guys this one time, and I can't remember if I said it on the show, so I apologize if it's redundant. But like, I was flying for work out to somewhere, and I was next to a dude who had flown in for like a youth religious conference. And I was asking him about, the ministry and how things were going and stuff. And just like, I mean, this flight wasn't that long, maybe an hour and a half. And it took an hour, and like I wanted to hear stories about how Jesus is moving in this thing. And all he's talking about is like their building campaign and like he's a musician. It's like the different gigs that they had done and like all the measures of what it looked like for success were totally like good measures. If I were saying, is your organization thriving? Right. But they weren't actually very good indicators as to whether people were meeting and then following Jesus. It just told me that like, hey, these guys are well organized. Like I wouldn't take anything away from the effectiveness of the events they're putting on. And it sounds like the organization's well managed, like people are managing their money well, like all things that are good, fine things. And I even tried to press a couple times, not like press, but just inquire deeper. And boy, I just couldn't get this fella to like reach for something that felt like not. I don't want to even mean to say counting the right things, because the right things you probably you don't count. But like I remember also there was something I was interacting with, and it was there were people who they worked on a media team at a church, and like the things that were happening and that I heard them talking about was very like, how do we put on the gathering? And it was disconnected in some ways from the thing you actually are trying to facilitate and put on. And it goes, it doesn't mean all just because it's big or it's wrong, or that because you can afford it, it's wrong. It's just like, it becomes a job just like any other job. And so what it felt like, and this is the point I was driving at, which is like, do you find people having these ministry failures because it's just a culture This is what people who work in a church, and so you do the churchy things, and you say the types of things, you attend the types of things. But like that's not the same thing as like if you didn't have this job or you whatever, that you would actually behave in these other ways, or that what your life would look like. And so it just felt like, are we setting people up for failure? And because you're like, how could you be so duplicitous? Some of this is on my mind because there was a dude there's two dudes actually today who was either resigned or were fired from their positions at churches for living double lives. And you're like, how does this keep happening? How are these people living double lives? Is sin that pervasive? Like, how does the weight of being someone who is compensated to serve in the kingdom in this very way, like, how does this keep happening? And one of the ways it would make a lot of sense for me that it continues to happen is it's just a job. And not intentionally, but like it's just the framework of like, these are my responsibilities. These are the things I do because they're compensating me to do it, which has the ability to have some distance from what my true or full self is. And so what feels crazy to me is actually not so crazy if you're like, look, I behave some way at my job, but I do something different at home because it's not the same me.
Yeah, I mean, 100% that like, this is where it's going to tie into the main thing being the main thing, right? Like if you get lost in the fact that like, especially like even that youth guy, right? Like you can tell when you're involved in something that God has you doing because you have God-sized stories of lives being changed and people meeting him, right? But if your output is, this is how many people attended, or this is how much money we raised, right? Those are like periphery things that God provides to make the main thing the main thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you need money, God provides money. If he wants to send people, he will send people. And so like if your main goal is to be 3 layers out, then we're celebrating the fact that you're 3 layers out. You know what I'm saying? Not the fact that like there's God's movement within a body of people who are like changing lives and neighborhoods and families and legacies and generations. You know what I'm saying? Those are the stories that like are really evident that God is moving. But like if you're just like, hey, we had 10,000 people here on Sunday, you're like, oh, okay, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's cool. Like we have so much money, we started a building campaign and we almost met our goal. Great, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Did God tell you to build the building? I have no idea if that's good or not. That's just a tertiary fact to the Great Commission of bringing people to know who Jesus is. And you're like, well, we can't bring more people to know who Jesus is unless we have this building. I don't know if that's true or not either. Right? You could be going door to door or have a service in a park for all I care. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I distinctly remember, and this happens to be the building that we're in right now. When we, as part of this construction process, like I remember praying that like, because prior to the church was mobile, like we'd go to, meet in schools and types of things. And it's not holy to meet in schools, but there was, there's something that comes with the permanent space that creates opportunity, and I think it creates risk, just like every other ministry situation. And I remember praying that, like, God, if this would otherwise point us as a community to become too focal on the permanence of where we're at, then like send an endangered owl into the rafters so that construction would have to stop. Like I'm actively praying, like burn the building down. Like we wouldn't know the difference. It seems like a normal thing that churches do. But can we be aware enough to go, look, if we missed it somehow, or if we were blind about it, or we misinterpreted signs because we wanted this to happen, like destroy the place, because I'd rather know now and not be part of it, Look, I didn't know owls came, so I presume we're probably okay, but
a couple crows.
Yeah. I don't like I don't know if it's beating up on church culture so much as like, is there a chance that we got lost from the main thing? Is there a chance that we got lost in the signal where we started going, let's measure how many people we can get in here, and let's measure how many events we can have, and let's get more people on staff, for heaven's sakes, and put out more money for not goods but services. You know what I'm saying? But like, are you sure? Like, can you reevaluate all the places that your time and attention, money is going, and go, is this actually doing the thing that God set us up to do? Or did we get lost a little bit in our aim? You know what I'm saying? I think that would be the concern. And like part of me goes, like I've heard stories of people coming to know Jesus through a party that a church set up or an outreach ministry. Like it happens. And so like I'm not saying that those are no good. Maybe I'm just saying that like we'd be way better off humbling ourselves and going, God, are these good? Like, are you in these things? Because if you're not, we should probably shelve half this stuff. You know how much money we spent on themed shirts with our logo on it last year? Like we could literally feed 3 families, for a month based on what we bought in shirts. You know what I'm saying? Was this the best idea? Just so we could have a coffee mug with our logo on it? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it doing the thing that you intend it to do? And if we've got misguided on it, then just help us to see it differently. There really is just a flat out humility to it. Because like God will bring a lot of people in a congregation and a lot of money in a congregation, and no one goes, look at that sinful church for all the money they have, unless they're doing whatever they want with it, right? Or doing like the church culture thing with it, instead of going like, is this actually doing what God pointed us to? Did we even ask him? You know what I'm saying? Or did we just figure, hey, we got some extra cash, maybe we should build a annex wing with a basketball court in it? Yeah. I guess there's like 7 basketball courts in town. You know what I'm saying? Did it really need to be one here?
What were you going to say, Dan?
Well, I was watching earlier a YouTube video came out recently on Rich Mullins. 1980s, Christian music guy. And he was such a unique guy because he was the struggling musician and really wanted to help people in their faith with God and through music. And then he just, things clicked and he was getting #1 songs and like becoming like super crazy popular. And the big stars were using his music, Amy Grant at the time, and Michael W. All the different people. And he was afraid that he was going to lose the main thing. Yeah. And so like he set up his elders at his church where he was going, and he said, all the money is going to go to you guys, and I want you to pay me the average salary of someone in America, which was like $24,000. He said, and the rest, he said, you give out to missions and do Jesus work. And then this was the kicker. I thought that's really cool. That's really neat. It's like that keeps you balanced, keeps you humble, keeps you like doing the main thing. Like God's called me to do this. But then part of his thing was, don't ever tell me how much I made.
Oh, yeah.
So he doesn't become like, look what I did. Oh, yeah. Because that would become a pride thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's a guy who was at the highest level of professionalism in his field. Yeah. And like didn't care. Yeah. He says, I just want to lead people to Jesus. And, that's right. And we want to do this music and help people worship and just give me what I need. And if all the churches did that, if all the pastors did that, if all the staff did that, it'd be, I think, a different world. Yeah. It's when we get into the game and the competition, and it's not just a, hey, we want everybody in this community, this town to go to heaven. It's, I want to have my church bigger than your church, and so I got to have a cooler party, and now we got to have a mascot, and then we're going to have the blow up games, and everybody's competing for not disciples, but for just people, for crowds. Yeah, and that's where we start getting crazy, and then the lifestyle doesn't match as well. And then they start,
because you got to put all your effort into it.
Yeah, it's human effort,
and even like we've talked about this the last couple of years. Like, there's just been a lot of high profile sinful failings of pastors, right? And like at the end of the day, you probably did not need to be speaking at 10 conferences. Did God call you to speak at 10 conferences? Is it okay to speak at a conference? Sure, I guess every once in a while. But like when you start feeling like this conference needs me, I don't know, it needs the Holy Spirit. That's what it needs. I don't know whether that's you or not. Yeah, you're a tool in the toolbox, my friend. Not the main show. When your
10,000 seat auditorium's not enough, and you need to expand that. It's like, do you?
Yeah, actually, if outside of the church, here's I ran into some of this that I had to reorient myself. There's the last few years I've spoken at there's a conference for what I do at work, and I've spoken there. And I met a few different folks, and then all of a sudden, on LinkedIn and stuff, I see a few of them, and they're like speaking. They're like these conferences like every 3 weeks, and they're speaking at these things. And I'm like, and there was part of me that's like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't look at all the speaking stuff they're doing. And then I thought, and I remember there was part of me that thought like, oh, maybe I want to go speak at more conferences. I don't know. I don't really want to. I don't know why I even thought that. But then also I thought, these people, I'm having a hard time believing that these folks are even doing with any frequency the thing that they're going to speak on. Like, how are they doing that? They're at these conferences all the time.
Right,
like,
right.
I kind of want to, like, I don't want to have another conversation in front of people saying hypothetically what I might do if I ever got the chance. Like, I would like to show up and go, look, I'm coming to you, person who was doing these things and has been, and here's how, in my experience, what works and what does not work. Not what I think might, or I got a half-baked idea might work at your place, because, like, what I have no idea. I don't do it often enough. And so I think this is where the things converge, is that, like, the way that you protect this from not ending up culturally, which has a distance from what it looks like to faithfully follow Jesus, even if all the motions look like they're right, is when you keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing is not to make disciples. It's a thing. It's a right thing. It's an awesome thing. It's not the main thing. Your main thing is to submit your life to Jesus. That's the main thing. Is you're going to say, look, I need Jesus, and I am going to, in submission to him and recognize him as my Lord, I am going to live my life as using his life as a template for what it looks like to live mine under the empowerment of the Holy Spirit. That needs to be true whether you're making disciples or not. That needs to be true as you think about as I start to go do all the peripheral things, because, like, the key issue here is that the means starts to be justified in and of themselves. Because if you go, hey, look, man, someone's going to get baptized, should we celebrate? You're like, heck yeah, it's righteous to celebrate at a baptism. And all of a sudden you got a friggin' Denver Nuggets mascot at your place. Mm-hmm. And you're like, but it's okay to celebrate. The question then becomes, like, once I'm doing all these types of actions, are they otherwise pointing people to humble submission to Jesus? Or did I then say, well, the step away is to get people to like our church so that I can then invite them to Jesus? And so you go, well, we're putting all our effort to get people to like my church.
Or like baptism. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, people are like, hey, we just love baptisms. I'm like, I like baptisms because it equals changed lives and submission to Jesus Christ.
This is what I'm saying.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And so, like, where you start to get a distance. So, like, take the guy, if you work in a ministry perspective, or you serve in a ministry, I don't care. Like, whatever these situations are, like, is the main thing for you to use whatever context you are in service and fealty to submission to Jesus. If it's that, then it will either be successful because as the Spirit guides, or as the natural consequences of following Jesus produce, or it will not, and then you'll go and do something else. But you can do so in confidence and in humility. What you can do if you go, look, my aim is to do something that is peripheral to that seems like it's in service to ultimately that, but is like a step or two away. Because, like, it's really what it is. Is like, and this is why it's not, it's a cultural confusion. It's not a mustache twisting where someone's like, hey, it really stinks that, like, you got your church attendance to grow from 5,000 to 10,000, or that Mike in his youth group at Pleasantville baptized 17 kids. But, like, to a certain extent, he's like, look, we just really need to get these kids baptized. But if it's not pointing them to humble submission to Jesus, well, then what are we getting people wet for? And what are we buying more seats for? And, like, and again, it doesn't require a giant context to get this twisted, but that's where it gets twisted.
Yeah. I was trying to find the quote. I don't remember it exactly. I'm going to mess it up. But some old-time preacher a couple hundred years ago was basically said, if you attract people with the circus, then you always have to have a circus.
Yeah.
And it's like, of that variation.
Yes.
That's it. And then you got to keep upping it. And it's got to keep getting better.
That's right.
I think this is where this ties together for me. Is like, and like, this might just be a wrong thinking on my end, but, like, when I introduce somebody to who Jesus is, or we start talking about, like, who God is, I feel responsible for this person, right? I'm like, I brought the gospel into their life, of, like, or God did it and brought us to have this conversation, right? And so, like, after they get to know him, after they get baptized, and after they start living life, I'm like, I'm still on the hook for this. Like, I have an account to make to the Lord when I get up there based on the way that I've presented him. And so, like, what makes me really nervous is, like, these fly-by-night, like, youth passion nights, or, like, worship concerts, or, like, revival tents where people are just, like, slaying in the Spirit and then going and leaving. And I'm like, who's taking responsibility for these folks? Do you know what I'm saying? That feels wrong to me. I don't like it, because I'm like, it's really easy to fever pitch a bunch of people on a feeling with wispy music and fog, and then they have real problems tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Real stuff. And they don't know God's word at all. They don't know the heart from a bunch of Christians that they know. They just know an enigmatic guy came up and spoke truth into their life. And it was still truth and it was good, right? But like it wasn't thick and deep and wide and like can sustain a life based on the continual truths of Jesus found in his word and the character of God. And so I'm like it's where some of that stuff like gets me nervous. Even churches are like, man, you can't believe it. We baptized 300 people today. And I'm like, okay. I mean, like, I really do like that. I'm really excited. If all 300 people are actually being told what a life of following Jesus looks like.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I just get really leery of measurements when I can't tie them to another Jesus person who's discipling them. Yeah. When I'm like, who is following Bob tomorrow? Who's going to check up with Bob? Who's doing a Bible study with Bob? Who's going to call Bob and go, you got questions about your Bible? Oh, you're not reading your Bible. Okay, Bob, listen, you can't follow a God you don't know. So here's how this works. You know what I'm saying? And like, it just, that's the part that I feel like it's really wonky. Even Paul would show up and preach in a town, and then either there'd be an established church there or he'd start one and be like, hey, community of people, keep an eye on these other folks that we're bringing in. Someone tail them. Someone invite them for dinner. Someone make sure that like they understand the way this all works. And like some of the bigger things that feel like they're just attention grabbers or they cost money, I'm like, what is this? It makes me nervous.
Even the teaching, when you get to a certain point where you're attracting a large crowd and you're doing everything as soft as possible to be entertaining and so forth, you're not even like oftentimes not including like a good solid teaching of the Bible, like on a Sunday morning to the people who are coming hungry for that.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, I was baptized. That's really great. Okay, I really want to know about Jesus. And it's this big, flowery, really cool, tweetable moments in a sermon. And my concern with that is then, 2 months later, and they get diagnosed with cancer, the little slogan doesn't mean much anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like, where's Scripture? Where's God in this? And if there's no other discipleship going on, no other work to build them up in the faith, I get concerned for that in our modern church.
Actually, I was reading something this week, and I think it was a commentary on Colossians, but like the dude said, one of the takeaways was like, there's a part of Christianity where like sometimes you feel like you're trying to get people to be comfortable in your church or in your community or whatever, and the comfort means that like it's kind of like what they're used to. And he's like, look, man, they're turning to Jesus because they find what they're used to is left them wanting. And then what do we have to offer but some sort of like half-baked version of the thing they were leaving? Like they come to Jesus because they're like, I wanted something. I'm looking for something different. And here's the thing. This goes to the cultural bit. If they're not coming to Jesus because they're looking for something different, then this is not the place for you. Like, and not because you're not welcome, but it's because like we need to be honest about what we have on offer. We have on offer a 8 to 10,000 year old story and a 2,000 year old Jesus. That's what I have on offer, who thinks miracles are still happening today and that people's lives are changing and that serving yourself is actually not the apex of the world. And like, if there's anything that we're saying or talking about in our community that gives the impression that you should feel comfortable in a world that thinks the opposite of that, but also in our space, not because we don't love you, but because this is not what's on offer, then we're probably setting the wrong table for you. And that's disingenuous. And I think we should probably not do that. And so what's interesting is you think about this distinction between like, can you be an indicator of a cultural Christian versus like a follower of Jesus has nothing actually to do with the presence of sin in your life. Over time, I actually think the conversation is relevant. But like, again, you could be like, dude, that guy really struggles with like severe alcoholism. He's angry. And I think he might have cheated on his wife in the last 6 months. That's actually not a great indicator necessarily of whether you are just like, I think it participates in like, are you just treating this like a culture? But you actually could have every intent to follow Jesus and you just kind of sucked on a few different occasions. Mm-hmm. But like what it ultimately comes down to is where is your fealty lie? And this is another thing that might hit you from like a cultural perspective is that as you listen to things going on around you, I've heard political stuff on both sides of the aisle. As soon as someone claims that they're going to quote the scriptures, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Because here's the thing: the thing that I care way more about is that that God's word should otherwise be directing how I see the world. And so, if you're going to grab onto that, you better be saying the same thing that Jesus is saying. And if you're not, then I'm out. I don't care. I don't care if I like everything else that you espoused, or generally speaking, I'm supposed to you mostly represent me. The thing is my fealty is not to you. It's not. My fealty is to King Jesus. And so I think we mentioned last week the example of Hegseth misquoting the Bible in some of his stuff, and people who are just grabbing bits of scripture, there's almost a it's not quite taking the Lord's name in vain, but it's that type of thing. For your own vanity, for your own gains, you are taking God or his word to otherwise further a thing that you thought was important.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable.
Yeah.
And so it should get you, it should have you, that's where you're peaked, because you're like, my fealty is to King Jesus. There may other be practical means of which I may care about some of these other things going on around me, but where do your loyalties lie? And if any, and even to your own thing, here's what I prefer. Here's how I think this thing should go. Thank you, your Bible is interesting, and I'll agree with this to the extent it elevates me or elevates someone I care about. But where it doesn't match, then maybe I'll go with what I think. Whereas the guy who's got the fealty to King Jesus goes, boy, I just don't even understand some of this stuff. I am, but I trust Jesus in the thing. And so I'm going to walk with it, and I'm going to work through it in my doubts and my concerns and the things that I'm still thinking about. Fine. But that one is use of a culture of things to further you or something else you care about. The other is going, look, it's not a culture except for the fact that we all agree on Jesus. And then great, Jesus is the culture. And so I just, those are the things I would probably keep an eye out for, is that one, the main, your submission to Jesus is the main thing. And yes, Jesus goes and tells you to make disciples, but if you separated making disciples from the submission to Jesus, who he is, how he did it, what he cared about, well, then you're not making disciples of Jesus. And there is it's not a score of any kind.
Yeah.
We're counting the wrong thing.
Because the church culture will fail them, right? There's a whole subset of people in this world with their main identity is having church hurt, right? Mm-hmm. Because all their loyalty was there, and all their fealty was there. And so when the church acted like humanity, which they do, right? Then they were really disappointed, and they were like, my whole world was crushed. I'm like, here's the thing is I've been a part of quite a few different Christian communities, and there's been some real turds in there. But I don't ever go, the Lord has failed me. I just go, Steve has failed me.
It's never occurred to me. It has never occurred to me to go, the Lord has failed me. Because where you have a healthy understanding of who Jesus is, you're actually way more gracious at the fallibility of humans participating in those same experiences. Mm-hmm. You see yourself right, you see Jesus right, and you go, it was just a part of a conversation we were having before the show started. You can look at someone who feels like they're complete opposite and sometimes antagonistic and maybe even a negative influence on people around you. And you can look at that person and go, boy, Jesus loves that person. And despite a caution I might have because it feels practical for me to be concerned, I feel like I should recklessly love and care about this person.
Yeah.
Right. That, and you start to strip away some of the hesitations, because it's not a cultural issue. It's how does Jesus look at folk? How do I look at folk? And it starts to, I just and maybe that's the big caution. I think of the surveys where people don't actually believe the things that the Bible is saying. And I think about the failures within the church world. And even that, right? Even the people, the church hurt and stuff that causes people to walk away from Jesus. And you're like, I just don't, what other explanation is there for how this could be, except for we got drug into what feel like a culture that can offer you a thing that in some ways, yes, Jesus was the fountain, but you really wanted to pick the coins out, or you liked the cool breeze it created, or you liked the aesthetic, the sound of it running. but you weren't that committed to the fountain. And then it ultimately let you down because like you were otherwise betting on the things around it. And like when the winds blow and the skies fell, the only thing you can hold on to is Jesus. All the peripheral things of our fallible attempts to draw you to him will also fade away, and only Jesus will remain.
And then the church will fail people as well when they're actually more than making disciples of Jesus, they're making disciples of their brand first.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love my church, and this is the church, and this is the great church. And then when the church fails, it's even bigger.
Yeah.
Because Jesus was in there, he was kind of there, but it was really the church that's the power in your life.
Yeah.
And the connection. And it's like,
and it is powerful. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a connected group of humanity, and who are, even if they're just phoning it in, they're usually pretty nice and generous, so like it can
you get sucked in pretty fast.
Yeah, it could be some real screw tape letters kind of action. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can posture as if they're the God in the relationship. We're all you need. Just a good community. And like, don't hear us wrong, you do need a good community. The Bible lays that out. But like, ultimately, like, you have to have a community where the head is Christ, right? Otherwise it is just humanity, and church hurt is rampant in communities who have lost the main thing for the main thing. Yeah. So I was just thinking about this, is like, it's very hard. I was talking to a guy this week about it, and I thought that I don't know. I'm very good at being humble when my life is in the toilet, or like I feel like things are just a mess. Like, I see myself rightly. I'm like, I can't do anything about these things. Yeah. Only God can. And I thought, Father, I don't know if you fixed every situation I've been praying about, like, would I just ignore you? I think I would. I don't know that I would lean on you for anything. I'm situationally humble. I'm not humble as Mike is humble, right? I feel like I can count times, like even the ebb and flows of when I follow Jesus. When things are going okay, or even there might be modicums of success, right, in my life or in my spiritual life, it's when I stop doing it. Right? I'm like, we're pretty good. Maybe I don't have to read my Bible all the time. Mm-hmm. Maybe I don't have to pray all the time that the Lord would humble me and let me hear his voice. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're on a pretty good time to coast right now. So maybe I'm just going to go do a couple of these things, or turn my attention over here. And so, like, I could definitely see how church organizations, pastors in particular, right, where you like, any type of worldly measurement success comes and you're like, God is blessing this. So obviously, if I think things are good, then God thinks things are good, because that's how I felt up to this point. So we'll just keep doing the things that I want to do, or that I think is good. I don't feel like I have to keep checking in with them all the time. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, how do we, first of all, is that a common experience? Is that you fellas too, or is this just Mike's kind of a turd?
That happens to me for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Like, you don't know you forget to grab on to the pole so you don't blow away only when the windstorm is happening. Otherwise, you're like, I don't know, maybe I don't. Yeah. You don't remember to do it.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
So let's just call this a common humanity problem, right? So like a lot of the situations we're talking about, like they're easily gotten to with a lack of humility. Mm-hmm. So like, how do we reintroduce humility? Right? Like, how do we do this? How do we go back and, like, I'm going to run everything back. Like, I'm willing to chop anything that we got going right now in service of the Lord. Like, what was I was just reading a story. Who was it? It was one of the kings. But basically, there had been generation after generation after generation of terrible kings who did what was wrong in the sight of the Lord, right? And this one guy, that's Josiah. When they found the book, right? Josiah, in the tabernacle, right? And then he comes up and he's like, oh, we have screwed this up bad, right? And then, and like, God's like, look, because of Manasseh, and like all the trouble that's been caused by all the kings, my judgment is still coming, but your generation's not going to see it, right? Yeah. Because of you humbled yourself before me. That's the words Yahweh used, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought, we're real bad at this. America in particular, Western culture, sure. America real bad, because all we do is celebrate our own pride and greatness. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, how can we do this better? Like, how do you humble yourself before the Lord all the time without him having to remind you, you know what I'm saying, that you should humble yourself?
Yeah. Well, it's back to what we were saying, keeping the main thing the main thing. Yeah. I love that bring up Josiah, because that's exactly what happened there. That they lost the main thing. They didn't they were going to the temple's kind of falling apart. I mean, it's only like 300 years old.
Yeah.
And it's like, gosh, let's clean this up. And it's like, oh, what's this book? Oh, the law.
Yeah.
That used to be why that building was there.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they read it like, who ever heard of this stuff? It was just a few weeks ago I was reading about this. It was like a 70 years or so since they opened that scroll.
Yeah.
And so that entire generation, three generations, they're never ever in their lives heard the law.
Right.
And that's
the
why they're
Passover
like,
wasn't being
"Holy
held
cow."
anymore.
Yeah. They lost the priority. They lost the main thing.
Yeah. It's a great. You're right. It's a great example because the temple that surrounded it, right? The edifice that was there. Is it fine to clean it up? Of course.
Yeah.
Is it? Should you make it? It's the Lord's presence.
They
you're
put
gonna do a good
Asherah
job.
poles in there. I mean, they were doing terrible things in the
They
temple.
were also still taking an offering.
Right. So, but the point is that is it? It's kind of the same question. Is it wrong to keep the thing up? Of course it's not. But that is you detached it from the whole reason it's there to begin with.
Yeah.
Why we are same reason as we think about, is it wrong to baptize people? Of course not. Of course not. But are you baptizing them into Jesus, or are we just happy
Into the
that we
brand.
put on something awesome?
Yeah. Congratulations for getting wet. Here's a church T-shirt.
Actually, I was at a baptism a number of months ago, and it was kind of like that. It was like there was a bunch of people there, and there was something that just was, I don't doubt. It's kind of like faith healing. Some people get healed anyway just because God is awesome.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I think they're actually, those guys are doing it. It's just faithful dudes, and God just shows up in the moment. But it doesn't mean that the baptisms don't count or anything like that, but it was very assembly line-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I didn't like it. And there was part of me that goes, is this a humility thing that needs to hit in you? Are you being arrogant because
We're trying to create an Acts 2 thing. See, we're just like the apostles.
Yeah. I think you have to be very, very careful. Again, when you're arguing methods to a certain extent, you've not made the main thing the main thing, right? So at the end of the day, people are baptized, and this is great.
Yeah.
But is there a thing in the back of my mind that goes, I don't...
Okay, this is going to sound crappy, but this is the reason I don't like it. Is because if Todd comes up to me on a Tuesday morning and says, Mike, I feel like God is leading me to get baptized, I'd be like, what you doing at 1?
Exactly.
How many people that can take off work? I would just baptize them right now.
Yeah.
Or Todd, what works best for you? Tomorrow? What about Thursday? And when it feels program-ish is when we're like, hey, we have a baptism Sunday coming up 3 weeks from now or 2 months from now. Let's hold tight. I'm
It's going to be fireworks.
I'm like, gross. Let's get baptized now. Anytime. Pick a water, right? Let me talk to you about what your relationship with Jesus looks like. But if you feel like God's after you and you want to get baptized, hot dang, I'll bring a crowd myself. I'll just call people I know and we'll celebrate for you. Do you know what I'm saying? But when we save it up to make it part of a spectacle, it's not sinful, I don't think, but it does irk me. You know?
Yeah.
It just doesn't smell good.
No, I don't think it smells good.
Well, and you actually, and that's you do see that behavior in Acts. Peter shows up to Cornelius's house. They hear the thing and they're like, let's do it. The Ethiopian eunuch, same thing. Is like, well, how can this happen? You want it. You're like, well, whatever. How can I not let any more time pass before I participate in this thing that it feels like we do? And you're right. The thing where it feels like it has to be crafted in order to do what exactly? Can't we just be happy a dude got baptized and celebrate it?
We're going to orchestrate this big day so people think the brand is cool. Because look what we're doing.
And I actually don't know that they would see it that way, right? They're not they're not like, hey, this will make our church brand. I don't think they're actually thinking about that. But I think if you were thinking it from the completely opposite side, right? They're like, we want our whole church community to celebrate. Actually, I'll just be happy with their friends and whoever could make it. Right? Because it's about this guy and his relationship with Christ. And he's not like a token baptizee. You know what I'm saying? Just get the man wet if that's what he wants. And let's start discipling the fella and be like, let's get you hooked up with a guy and let's figure this out,
Yep.
Yeah. I don't. So, okay. But your question was how do we, what do you do practically to keep the main thing, which starts with, I think, walking in retaining a humility.
I think it's all about humility, actually. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's so hard. I have no prescription to I know I find humility in deep, dark places. That's where I find it. And it lasts me a long time, and like in this season, I've been praying that God does not take away pain in my life, because I know what happens when he does. And I don't want to live that way. Right? I'm like, I can't change the fact that, unless there's a work of the Holy Spirit in me that changes my heart, that can maintain humility under the guise of success or peace. I would rather stay chaotic and messy if it meant that I stay humble. And because for some reason, this is not something that God is changing in me. As soon as I get a modicum of peace, I push him out. Right. And like, not out, gone. I'm not a follower of Christ anymore. But like, I just stop being obedient. I stop like spending time in prayer with him. And I'm like, I don't know how old are you going to let me be before but this changes in me. But if the option is to go through that cycle or stay low and humble, I think I'd rather have the low and humble. That's what I'd want.
Like, you don't rely on him if you don't think you need to.
Correct. Because I'm an arrogant turd, Dan.
Right. Yeah.
It turns out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I figure this has gotten better because of me. You know what I'm saying? These are lies.
Yeah. Actually, I was reading, I don't remember what actor it was, but there's like some A-list actor that someone was asking, like, hey, did you read the reviews of this movie or something like that? And their response was basically, he goes, look, if you don't read the negative reviews because you're like, this is trash, he goes, then you got to throw out the positives too. He says you got to just not listen, because like you're gonna get a twisted sense of the world if you go, I won't read the negative ones, but the positive ones are probably genuine, but the negative ones are complete honky. He's like, there's no way that can be the case. So you got to kind of go, I'm not going to listen to that. And so it feels like such a unique person to be able to do this, but like the posturing is to go, it does not matter to me. I remember thinking about this when we were doing, I don't know, just even classes I've done, but also when we were starting some of the house church stuff, is that like the tendency is going to be that like most people are sick because it's in the middle of winter and only 2 people are going to show up to church. And a practical person goes, maybe we should cancel. Right. And the thing is that like, whatever, it's not the end of the world. I don't think Jesus is going to be upset or anything if it didn't happen. But the question would be, is that like, is there a measurement in there and goes, oh, the thing that I have to say should wait until there's 15 people in the room. And I remember thinking that like, that's never the case. Not because God won't do something powerful with the things that we're going to talk about, but because I actually think he will. And so why wouldn't you want to at least do that for the 2 people that are coming? Like, how many people is good enough that the powerful thing God was going to do that they should witness it?
For them to get the full gospel. Go get some of your friends. Yeah. Then I will speak to you about Jesus.
Yeah. And so I just remember, and like I said, I'm not all that invested whether you cancel church in the nasty weather or something. It's just the thought of like, what did you measure? If the only thing I ever measured was, did I show up and did I represent Jesus to the best of my fallible ability? If that was the thing I could do, and someone said, and it was always in a dark room, and someone said, look, this week 100 people were in there, Ben, and the next week they said 2 people were in there, and I had the same reaction to both, and I went, praise the Lord. Like, I'm glad. And if there's no one there, well, then it must have been necessary for me. And I just go about the thing. The problem is, or I think the barrier is, you have to have a lot of confidence that the thing you're showing up to do was righteous regardless.
Right.
And I think maybe that's our barrier, where like there's a hesitation that goes like, well, I don't know. Am I to presume it's righteous regardless? It's like here's what I know is that the intent of my heart is that this is a faithful offering to Jesus. And I trust that he'll refine it if it's wrong. He'll make me feel it differently or change it in me if I'm getting it wrong. But other than that, like, it's all this weight is just not on me. And so where you're not counting, where you're not listening for the accolades, and you're not hurt by the people who are pecking at you because you're like, I'm faithful in the means and I'm going to trust God to handle the ends. That is a humble life. And it will keep you from pursuing things that otherwise generate more accolades. And it will keep you from staying away from the things that you think may generate negativity. Because either way, you're like, whatever, I'm just trying to get the thing that Jesus said was true. And I'm sure it's going to hit, where it hits people interesting is that like sometimes you're going to say a thing and you're going to preach a thing from the scriptures. You're going to have coffee with someone. You're going to say it. And what they're reacting to doesn't have anything to do with the scripture or the direction in front of you. It's actually a cultural question. Like whatever that they believed about Christianity that was culturally acceptable to them, now it's running against it. And now they have to make the decision. Do I love King Jesus or do I just want this acceptability? Do I want a culture that otherwise I thought I was buying into? And so anyway, I actually think that's part of it. And practically, I think it's something that, if you don't want to get a tattoo, I'd at least put it above the doorstop or like put at the top of your journal or whatever it is that you're doing, or bookmark in your Bible that like focuses on like, God, help me not be about anything but your business, and help me not be invested in my part in it, but help me play it faithfully. Like that's it. That's the thing.
Yeah, I would say that like most, like even with Josiah, right? Like the Josiah the king,
yeah.
right? I don't know. God can do a lot of work with humility. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like almost all big revivals come from humility and from an understanding that we need him and are postured our life in a way. And so like if that's the thing, it's not a magic unlock, right? It is just a fact. Right, very much so that like you can't get wet if you don't go out in the rain. That's just a fact, not a tweetable moment, right? So, but it's just without humility and without recognizing who he is and who you are, right? Like God, he just does not choose to work like that. He doesn't work through the proud. And so, like if we have any chance at all of him doing the things that we would love to see in our day, which is like just hearts turning towards him. Like it has to be in a posture of humility. And if that means that like us as a church culture needs to take a big old reset and figure out how to get back to humility and let God be God, and some of our programs and ideas and like the things that we just thought of. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not even saying they might not even be Holy Spirit inspired. They very well could be.
Yep.
But like humility makes sure. Humility goes, I'm willing to cut what you want to cut. And we want to keep the main thing. So that means all these speaking engagements I agreed to that were taken away from my family and making me have the associate pastor cover 3 out of the 4 weeks of the year. I'm going to stop doing that. Yeah,
actually, that's an interesting exercise. If you were to think through, and this presumes you're in some sort of ministry situation, but like, hey, that you found someone who's got talents for the kingdom and they're up there leading the worship. Like, if you put a real crapper in there for 4 weeks and half your church left, it's probably a reckoning, and like the thing, if you got like a guy's just gifted with the words, he's a really good teacher. God gave him the gift. If you took that person out for 4 weeks and half the people left, okay, it's probably a good reckoning. They were there because something about, that situation, like they weren't committed beyond the fact whether the dude was going to be in there or not. I'd like to know that. I think actually like the group of people that I'm in, like they'd go on without me. They'd go, well, Ben brought something that like God gave him a unique thing. He did that, but like nothing about what we do requires him to be here. Like they'll just move on, which is great, which is so cool. And so I suppose that's the question, is that like, could you pull out various Jenga blocks and not have the tower fall? And actually, if it leans, it's okay. It tells you something. Then you know where we might be. Not that it's not okay to, like, where God gives people gifts and it's impactful, you should not suppress it. But you also should know where it might be covering for the main thing, where it somehow took over to the main thing at some point or another.
Yeah, pull the donuts a week, then 2.
Yeah.
And then coffee. They're like, I can bring my own coffee now?
And it's so interesting because like it's practical. Like you'd go, well, yeah, man, you help families get out of the house. Like we serve breakfast at church and it's great. But like, if it made a difference to your like, look, I'm out of here. If they're not doing the thing, it was interesting. I was working through, I don't know why I got on this kick. It's something about what I was looking at for Colossians, but I got to thinking real hard about church membership. And like, I haven't been in a place where this has been an issue for quite a long time, but I do recall like moving from one church to another when I was like in my teen years or early 20s or something. And there was like a membership thing where like someone had to sign off on the thing. And I'm like, why are we doing this?
People vote.
Yeah. What is this about?
I don't know.
And like, and it was a real practical, I started asking the Chat GPT, I'm like, what is this? Like, why is this a problem? And it gave me, it listed out a bunch of crap. And I'm like, hey, all this stuff that you said doesn't have anything to do with the gospel. It's like, oh, so we know who we're responsible for. I'm like, who is your neighbor, homie? Like, what show me the paper or what? Like, I don't. And they're like, oh, well, it helps facilitate who votes in the churches and who doesn't. I'm like, I don't know. I don't run a democratic institution. I don't know if I care about this part either.
Nope.
And they're like, we need to know, what was the other thing? They're like, oh, we need to have a rough idea, like for the size of the building or whatever. I'm like, that doesn't necessitate an attendance board, and membership doesn't mean anybody's showing up. Like, this all seems like it facilitates cultural Christian behavior.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I obviously don't do church membership. The only place, the thing where it makes sense to me, and not probably in that formal way, is to a point Mike was making earlier, which is like, I'm cautious about a lack of accountability. And so, but I don't think you need formal roles for that. I just think you need to recognize, like, look around.
It happens with relationship.
Yes, that's right.
It just does.
That's right. And so I'm like, I really wish we should stop doing this thing. Like, I got to go get someone to sign off as if I like I belong to that guy or his pews or the expression of Christianity over there. Like, why would I ever have any problem if someone goes, look, there's another guy talking about Jesus in this other town I moved to. I'm like, I don't need to be involved in any formalities related to that. Praise Yahweh. Continue on. Yeah. How can I pray for you? Or like, it's weird.
I always thought it would be cool. It's like, I don't know how many people actually operate this way, but like, they're like, hey, we're starting to grow. We should get a building campaign. And what seems cooler to me is let the place get completely packed to the gills and then go into my prayer room and go, Lord, you got a problem. Yeah. There's a lot of people.
I'm just like, I'm the watchman on the wall.
I'm just the watchman, and it looks like this place is full. You're going to have to figure something out. And if he's like, no, I'll weed them out. Don't worry. Half of those people are sheep.
Take away the donuts.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing is like, once again, you count the wrong thing. Like, God could very well answer you that go, 30% of those people are wolves in sheep clothing. And he goes, you're making room for them because you didn't ask me. You just decided to build a bigger building hoping they'd blend in. But if you just stick tight, I will bring a building when you need a building. I will bring people where you need people, right? Like, these are God's mechanisms to do. And like, we get so caught up in planning for them and scheming and coming up with this. And like, I don't know, man, like, you should ask him. Like, I guess it's just the humble approach. Like, I just want to make sure we're asking. Are we asking him, right? Before we build a building, is the place packed to the gills? And God's like, don't worry, I'm going to weed out 30 of these dudes. Oh, never mind. You made space for them. I guess they're going to stay. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you won't be able to see what they're doing. And then they're going to operate in the cover. All you had to do was ask me. And I'd have told you, keep your building the same size. No worries.
Or like, there's such boldness in that humility to be able to go, Lord, I'm not giving a fig one way or the other. And God just keeps sending them. And you're like, I really don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
God, you send that fire marshal too? Yeah, time to build.
Yeah. Right. Like, that's the thing, is that like, it's a very Paul method of things. You take all this stuff away just so you can have it back in a healthy means. And you build it yourself, it's on sand. Right. But like, where God insists upon it, you're like, I tried to say no. I said things that people don't like. I took the donuts away for a while. Whatever, like all the things like you don't need to chase people away. But the point is that like where you are confidently, where you're humble and you're consistent and you're committed in your humility. Let's just say, like, if you're approaching things humbly, then you don't look at any of the things where God is actually pouring in. He's like, this is exactly where we want the people to be. And you're willing to follow it, but you know you weren't the person. It's not invested in you. And you can do so confidently. I'm just like, the thing that keeps you away from being the person who like lives it as a culture or treats it like a job is you just humbly went, I don't know, what are you going to do in here? Or I'm confused why you would continue to keep sending people. I'm going to try to handle them faithfully, but I just don't know about this.
Okay, I feel this way about this bot behavior from Vietnam. I've been praying on this thing. I'm like, Lord, if this turns out to be an actual thing, I'm like, this freaks me out, and I think you've misplaced your trust in the wrong fellows. Right? And like, I want to make sure that like I've been praying before I walk in this every radio show ever since you said that. I'm like, oh Lord, I've not been responsible or asked you about anything we should do on this show for 10 years. We just come here and start slinging lead in the air, saying whatever the heck we want. And I'm like, if you're bringing people to listen to this thing, this freaks me out, and I don't want it.
Yeah. And I just presume that's what we have. This is what we have to offer. Yeah. I don't know that any craft would turn this any differently. This feels like, ultimately, I look around this room, and this has been true for 15 years, is like, I think these are humble fellows, like, trying to follow Jesus. I think this room is a humbling room. I think as you're walking about your day-to-day life, you're going to hear things other dudes are doing. And you're like, oh, crap, yep, that's probably right. And, like, I think the intent of our rather ragtag, sometimes crappy radio show is that we intend to serve Jesus. And this is all we can offer. I think there was a little bit of time where we're like, I don't know, what if we thought harder about this? Yeah. I just don't think we're capable of it. I think this is what we have to offer. And if God can do awesome things with it, I'm great.
Yeah.
That's what we got.
All right. You ready to get out of here, Dear Live from the Path?
Yeah, let's do it.
Dear Live from the Path, I have a friend I have known for a very long time. We bonded 10 years ago over common interests and mutual friends. Over the years, they have suffered from anxiety, depression, and OCD. In addition, they are also narcissistic, but it had never been a problem before. I have spent many a day and night on the phone with them for hours, letting them talk out their problems. I've always been supportive and empathetic, offering help or suggestions. Live from the Path, they can't hold down a job.
Yeah.
They invariably quit for some reason or another, and they have a drinking problem as well. Holy cow. This guy go to a store and say, like, what are all the debilitating things that could be involved in? It is becoming increasingly difficult to remain friends. Sure. After years of being the supportive friend, it seems that's all I am. Whenever this friend wants contact, the entire time is spent talking about them. They never ask how I'm doing or what is new with me, and they haven't in years. I feel stuck because I don't want this person to feel I'm abandoning them, but I am mentally and emotionally burnt out from constantly trying to talk them down. They claim... They claim that, it says, I have tried to be a bit more distant and hopes my friend gets the hint that I can't be available 100% of the time. The last time they reached out, they claimed they thought they scared me. I want to tell them, I'm not scared, I'm just tired. How do I approach this?
Well, I think you already said it. I'm tired. I can't keep carrying you.
Yeah. I think this is a tricky bit of our current cultural moments, and probably has been for the last 10 to 20 years or so, which is like, as I listen, this is probably going to be offensive, just for a heads up, in case you need to turn the station. As I listen to the list of things, I don't think it's likely that all of those things in combination are naturally occurring. Your brain chemistry can totally be jacked up, but the combination of those types of things feel like either excuses isn't quite the right word. They're justifications for behavior that probably has means of being tempered through some actual life change. And I just, not to get too basic about the thing, they did a study I saw recently that of 100 kids who were doing had ADHD type of stuff, hard time focusing or whatever. If you reined in pretty significantly their technology use and you changed their diet, it was like 80% of them stopped within 6 weeks exhibiting some of these behaviors. And so I say that to say, the thing is nothing's going to be 100% a solution anywhere. But drinking sounds like a way to otherwise deal with some rough situations that are likely being created from other behaviors. Or vice versa. ADHD can be just a description as hey, why do you mistreat the people around you? I can't focus. It becomes a justification, even if there's a difficulty in there, for sure. I find the same thing where we've talked often on the show that I get an anxiousness to me, but there's a difference between going, look, I'm feeling real nervous about this upcoming thing going on at work. I will take steps to try to get to learn and grow stronger from it. Or I go into the room and say, look, you all make me nervous. Everyone has to turn and face the other direction while I speak. One thing makes me stronger. The other one supports and makes it worse, actually, every other time I want to interact with the world. And so I say all those things to say is that what you won't be able to do is carry what are otherwise either justifying or enabling behaviors. because they will never reach a reconciliation. It's not on a path to getting better. And so then all you're doing is like carrying a load that can never be put down. It's too much. You won't be able to do it. It doesn't mean that there aren't people who are walking through some very difficult circumstances and their body is not cooperating and their environment is facilitating it poorly. And it requires a lot of close hand holding. But like most people can sustain that type of support when there's a trajectory of at least glimpses of improvement and an intent for things to be different. People can sustain a lot of that. Just think of people who, I know this is going to seem like an odd comparison, but people who end up, who give birth to like a child who's got special needs. Like, just they're most amazing people. They acclimate to something that it feels like you could look out from a distance and go, doesn't that soak up all your energy and time? And you find it. But because you can look at the situation and go, look, this child or the situation are earnestly try to navigate the world in the best possible way. What you will run out of energy for is a perpetuation of a cycle of which they're actually not trying to change or do anything different. And so it is okay to go, I cannot, you need support that I can't offer you. And I'm tired, to Dan's point. I'm exhausted and I can't be that for you. And I think it's fun to say that out loud.
Yeah, I recently told somebody, they said, they brought a situation to me and said, hey, can you help? And I said, here's the thing is, I can't want different for somebody more than they want different. Like it doesn't succeed that way. They have to want something different and I can't want it in their place. So like if they want out of trouble, that's generally something that we can help with. If they are creating trouble and they want out of trouble, that is not something I can lend a hand to because it'll be futile for them and me. It's kind of a waste of my time to get involved. And so like overall, if you're asking a very specific question is like, I want to tell them that I'm not like, you're not abandoning them, right? But like you have to figure out in what capacity you want to continue to be in their lives. And usually that means setting up some boundaries. Yeah. Right. Here's what I am like. Think about it for a minute, put some thought into it and be like, if I'm just going to assume that none of your stuff is going to change, you're going to continue on the same road that you are. The truth is it's bringing nothing but trouble to me and like trouble to my soul. And it's hurting. And like, you're not interested in doing anything different except for dumping it here. So like, here's what I can do. I can take a phone call from you like once a week. I'm not going to drop everything I'm doing that's otherwise good just so I can be part of this, and maybe if I don't have the bellwether for it for today, I'm going to let it hold a day until I got some bandwidth for it, like basically if they're going to keep taking on negative consequences, like you're going to protect yourself a little bit by going, I'm not just going to take them just because you have them. Right? Like I'm not expecting a mutual relationship here. That's off the table. It's actually unreasonable. Their behavior has never been anything but that. So like that's not going to happen. But you can decide how many of the negative volleys you're going to accept over the net. And if it needs to be less and then they get mad at you for not accepting all the volleys, then the problem fixed itself, But you do probably need to be as honest as you can without being hurtful that like, here's the way I'm going to approach this from here on out. And if they get offended and don't want to talk to you anymore based on your honesty, and then it is kind of is what it is, at least you set some stuff up. I think that's how I would approach it, or I would recommend approaching it.
Yeah. I heard a guy, I was talking to a fellow a week or so ago, and he said he got involved in a situation where there was a relative of his who was going to lose his house. And the house payment wasn't actually that much. The guy who is in the house has like a full-time job and he has roommates. The money is there. And they're just simply not paying the water bill or the house bill. And you're like, and obviously, like to get to the point where they're trying to sell the thing out from under you, like you got to be derelict for quite a long time, right? Yeah. And so like part of the question is like, all right, you hate to see someone not be in their house anymore. And it feels like, oh man, we got to figure out how to keep them there. But like, it's within this man's ability to do this. And I know maybe this seems like an unfair comparison as we talk about some of those things that are mental strains or addiction issues. I don't I think we are not helping by doing a fait accompli on some of these things that represent our behaviors, either discuss our behaviors or seem to generate them. I think there are some people where like it's just really, really, really hard, and it might be like impossible for them to shake all of these things. The vast majority of people have more control over their lives to be able to start reducing the impact of some of this stuff over time. And they're not taking it. And they're looking, they're someone coming along someone. And I think this gets to part of what Mike's advice is that like, I don't think you don't give up hope with people, but like having a hope for them and trying to facilitate good things is not the same thing as agreeing to shoulder the consequences of all the behaviors that they're choosing. Like they are still choosing some of this. There's very few people who are acting completely out of mind. And so, and the more that you allow that, like that you approach it that way, that you make it sound like it's all out of mind, you also took away the ability for them to behave differently. And like that's ultimately what you're encouraging. We're encouraging to say, oftentimes different behaviors produce different outcomes. And so it sometimes feels like because I'm a Christian and I want to serve people and I have hope and I'm optimistic about them, it requires that they then shoulder every consequence of which people are generating. That is not what you're responsible to do. In fact, you don't even just watch Jesus walk the earth. He doesn't like change the lives of every poor person out there. And the difference between rich and poor in Jesus's day was far more drastic than it is today.
Yeah.
And he wasn't being caustic when he said, "Look, the poor will be with you always." But when he was talking to Judas, but he's talking about like there's this sense of like it's all not going to resolve itself, and so you can't carry the burden of that particular thing. And so anyway, I got a little skew there, but like the broad point is to say that like you can reconcile a hopeful, serving, gospel-oriented attitude. Doesn't require that you also accept all the stuff that's the downfall of other people's choices. Those boundaries are helpful, but also like you do need to sustain the optimism. Don't give up on people, but that's a different question than how much of what they do falls on you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think actually like there's some practical ways you can bellwether some of that, right? They're like, "Hey, I got all these problems." You're like, "Okay, I tell you what, why don't you shut down that technology and then let's start drinking some more water." And when they tell you no to your face, that they're not desperate to change at all. Like they want to keep the stuff. Like they'll just flat out like push off any help that is actually helpful or actually even worth a shot. By the time I've been in some real pain, right? And I'm like, I could see how people turn to street drugs. Like I'm in enough pain right now that I would make a real bad decision if you put it in front of me. And I'm like, so I understand the desperation that some people get to, but usually when people are desperate for a change, they will accept anything that promises that it can do better. And so says, "Hey man, let's just do this for a month. Let's get your technology down to half hour a day and let's drink water and stop going out to McDonald's." And they're like, "It's ridiculous. I won't do it. I just have these things." You're like, "You didn't even try. You're not desperate. You don't want this out of your life. You want to cling on to the decisions that you're making. You don't want these things to go away. So now I'm definitely not going to sit here and accept all the consequences of your continued poor choices when there's better options on the table and you're refusing." Like if you want to feel good about the decision you're making, you're not testing them, but you can bellwether them and go, "I just want to make sure I'm not losing my mind here."
Yeah, that goes to something we were talking about actually at church yesterday, which is like sometimes because it feels gospel serving, we are in a mad rush to put out a fire that God started. Right? Like
that'll preach. Come on.
The refiner's fire is lit and we're like running in with the water going, but
not
careful,
here.
It's a fire, you know? And I think like one of the images or the phrase that came to me at the time was like, sometimes God's the salve, sometimes he's the itch. And like, again, we're running in, we're like, our goal in life, even helping people, and you can even take this outside of the gospel context, which is like your goal isn't just to reduce, like drugs reduce pain, like the psychotic drugs like reduce your ability to feel, and people hate that. Like, so we're trying to improve their experiences, not dull them down. And like sometimes that means you actually have to change your experiences. To Mike's example, hey, like take a month. just cut out technology for a month. They're like, I can't do it. Like, you were willing to suffer through 10 years of heavy drinking and making excuses for your behavior to all the people and feeling off and on depressed and anxious. You can sustain that for 10 years, but you can't go, no, I'm just going to give someone else my phone for a month and just see. Maybe it's bogus. I don't know. But you ain't willing to try it.
Yeah.
I just, I know, I'm not saying it's not hard, but I'm like this is what change looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Secular says, the question was, how do I approach this? Secular says, here's how. First, understand that this person will continue to use you instead of a psychotherapist as often as you allow it. Begin rationing the time you spend on the phone and in person with them. If this quote's friend asks again if they are scaring you, tell them what you have told me, that your energy is being sapped and you can no longer spend hours on the phone with them. If you do, you'll be doing both of you a favor. I don't know if you're doing them a favor. Not from their eyes, for sure. They won't see it that way.
Yeah. I've struggled with this. Struggles maybe not the right word, but I think about people who are lonely, and I think that would be terrible. Mm-hmm. I think you get maybe especially when you're older, but even outside of that, it's just I don't have that experience. I'm surrounded by people who care about me, and it's a real gift. And to be by yourself in your own thoughts most of the time, to not have an evidence whether someone's thinking about you or not over multiple days, you could go do a thing or not do a thing, and it doesn't appear that has any consequence to anybody. I think that would be hard. And then I think to myself, well, there's lots of people who are in that kind of situation. And what I would think about is that, what does it mean? Is it enough to just be a casual interactor with this person? Or are you not helping unless you're talking to him every other day and bringing him over and inviting him to all the things? And it's too extreme of of a thing in my mind where it's probably just fine even every once in a while for someone just to call and check in or send you a nice note, say, I was thinking about you. I actually think there's a lot that staves off loneliness in those means. It doesn't require that they become my best friend and they show up to everything I ever do.
Yeah.
And I know it's not quite the same thing, but I liken it to that type of thought, which is I don't know if I can fully commit. Well, then just give what you can.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And I think it's okay to pray on stuff too and be like there's some people that are really close to me and we're just not involved. We're just not. I know what God has us doing. I know where he's got all our time. And there even opportunities will come up and I'm you know what? We're just not involved. That's okay. You can't be involved in everything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's okay. All right, last one. Dear Live from the Path, we were invited to an out-of-town wedding along with some of our children. It cost several $100s, including airfare, hotel, food, and gifts. The event started Friday afternoon and lasted until Sunday evening. On the Saturday of that weekend, the bride's family hosted a dinner and informed several of the wedding invitees that they were on their own for that evening. Was that appropriate? Should we say anything to the groom's family with whom we are associated?
What?
You didn't.
Why is there a problem here?
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
They started the festivities on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, I'm assuming, was the rehearsal dinner, which sounds like you weren't invited to because you're not in the wedding party or something. And you're like, this is crap. I came here on Friday. The wedding's not until Sunday. I'm on the hook for 2 nights of hotel, and you don't even invite me to the rehearsal dinner. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Should feed all of us.
Well, what might feel, okay, what if the rehearsal dinner was on Friday? And then, but the wedding, the wedding's got to be Sunday, right?
I think so.
Or it could have been a Saturday evening.
But then wouldn't it feel what do you mean you're on your own for dinner? Don't you presume there's a reception?
Welcome to the wedding. Reception's on us. By the way, we're going to Olive Garden. You can't come.
Yeah, it feels like they've put a weird pause in here somewhere. But whatever, is it fine to go... I guess here's the thing, is that as long as they were clear when certain things in the festivities were happening, if you just want to come in for the wedding, fine. But I think it's okay to say, look, you're on your own for dinner.
I assume I am.
Yeah.
If I ever go somewhere, I mean,
to be fair, if you had an out-of-town wedding and you said Friday night we're going to have a get-together, Saturday night's the rehearsal dinner, Sunday's the wedding, I would go, well, I'm not invited to the rehearsal dinner, so I guess we're going to show up Saturday night, have dinner, go to a hotel, and show up at this wedding.
Yeah.
I ain't coming here for no Friday afternoon soiree for an extra $200 a night.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As long as they're clear on what's going on, then you can choose whether you want to show up or not.
Yeah, it feels like you're dumb for showing up so early, knowing that you weren't invited to the rehearsal dinner.
Yeah, I mean, and think about it. Weddings are when some of the randos show up. Is it wrong to think that hey, there's a bunch of randos on the bride's side and they're going to get together on their own group? Sure.
Yeah.
That seems completely reasonable to me.
Yeah, I don't text the opposing cousins and be like, by the way, I know Bob's getting married. Us cousins of Bob are going to get together. We should meet up.
Yeah.
I'm like, us cousins are getting together. I don't know this other woman's family. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We just met today.
We have 18 people going to the Cracker Barrel. We thought we'd make life a lot more difficult and see if we could fit 50. You want to come?
Yeah, weird.
Yeah. I don't have any problem with this at all.
I think you showed up too early, friend. All right, Secular says, rehearsal dinner is traditionally hosted by the groom's family, but that's not what this Saturday dinner sounds like, since the bride's family hosted it. I would imagine that being told at the last minute to fend for yourself was both jarring and frustrating, so your feelings are understandable. However, I see nothing positive to be gained at this point by pointing it out to the groom's family, which might only embarrass them. I think jarring is a little much.
Yeah, that's real.
Once you stop being such a sensitive Sally. Here's the deal. It's I know we talked about this a few shows ago on the maybe it was on the program. I don't remember not. But the thing that was helpful me hearing from that apologetics guy where he said someone had asked one of the apologetics dudes how do you handle these things so calmly? You're so nice to people and you're able to facilitate these interactions well. And he's like, I enter the room and just don't presume that people agree with me. And he goes, if you start, it's a humility, right? But if you start there, then why would you be angry when they don't agree with you? You didn't assume that they did to begin with. And I just why did you assume they were going to buy you dinner or invite you into this group thing? If you didn't assume that, you would not have a problem that it didn't happen.
Yeah, listen, dude, just because someone's getting married doesn't mean it's an all-inclusive resort for you and your family. Do you know what I'm saying? You're there to celebrate them, and you're take me out to dinner. This is a weird thought.
Yeah, and maybe it's like a station of life thing, because when I think about people getting married, I think, boy, they're entering a real expensive scenario. The last thing I would want to do is hey, will they pay for an extra meal for me? I just presume young couples starting out don't have much money. Now I know that's not true everywhere. It's just what I would presume, and so I'd be glad to buy my own meal.
Yeah,
Yeah, read the card, dude. You know what I'm saying? You showed up 2 days too early. Yeah. If you're going to skinflint this thing, then you should show up Sunday morning and then cut town. You know what I'm saying? Go, get in, get out.
All right, you've been listening to Live from the Path. Thanks for hanging out with us so far this evening. And look, if you want to hang out to hear the end of this song, that'd be great. But other than that, we're going to cut the show loose. If you got any feedback for us, hit up the Live from the Path complaint line, 515-517-0085. That's call or text. Or if you want to hit us up on an email, you can do it, info@livefromthepath.org. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Path.
No crown, no gold, just a staff and a vision that the heavens foretold. Locusts in the fields, fire licking the stream. The plumb line drops straight, no bend in the beam. Justice rolls down, mighty as a flood. Righteousness flows, purging with the blood. The prophets cry, it cuts through the night. Let truth stand tall, let wrong take flight. Olive trees weep, vineyards scream ash. The feast turns bitter, bread turns to trash. The rich hoard wealth, poor crushed to the dust. Walls built on lies, foundations of mistrust. You build your ivory towers, sit on gilded thrones, but the Lord sees all, even hearts of stone. Woe to those at ease who sing idle songs. Your palaces crumble, you've been wicked too long. The lion don't whisper, it tears through the air. The Lord won't relent till justice is fair.